Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to math. Today, we're going to be working with right triangles. Okay, notice I have a right triangle here on the board. Today, we're going to deal with two types of right triangles. Okay, the very first one is 45, 45, 90. Okay, so we have 45, 45, 90. Okay, the reason it's a 45, 45, 90 is because we have a 90-degree angle and then we have two 45s. Okay, so the angles 45 degrees, 45 degrees. Okay. Alright. We're dealing with another type of triangle, but first let's start off with this basic one. Okay, which means that our objective for today is to use the special triangles rule to solve for right triangle sides. Okay, so we're looking for the sides of the right triangle. The rule is, we'll start off with 45, 45, 90. The rule is that the sides are both the same. Okay, the sides, let's say x and x. Okay, the reason why we chose x is whatever number you put in there, for the sides is the same. Remember that across from the 90-degree angle is always our hypotenuse. Okay, the rule on a 45, 45, 90 is when solving for the hypotenuse of this triangle, the rule is you multiply your side times radical of 2. So it looks kind of confusing. It's really not. For example, if I have a triangle, let's go here. Again, we have a triangle that's 45, 45. On this triangle, we say that one of the sides is 5. So our side is 5. That means that the opposite side, the other side across from the other 45, because remember, they're across from 45s, those are the sides. If x is one side, then x is also the other side from 45. That means if it's 5, it's 1, then the other one is also 5. So let's say we're solving for x, and we were solving for y. So we know what x is. Again, x is 5. So if we were solving for x, we will say x equals 5. Y equals, we don't know what y equals yet. But we know that the rule states that whatever number's on one side, on the sides, it's multiplied by radical of 2. Since a number itself and radical of 2 are not the same, you leave both. So y equals 5 radical of 2. So your answer for x is 5, y is 5 radical of 2, because remember it's x times radical of 2. It's just x, and here it's x radical of 2. So just x is 5, so therefore y is 5 radical of 2 because it's x radical of 2. What if it was a radical itself? Let's say now instead of 5, we have a radical. Let's say we have another right triangle. Again, I'm only going to do 145 because I believe that states that the other angle is 45 since this is 90. Let's say this time we have radical of 10. And we're solving for x. we were solving for y. Obviously, when you're dealing with 45, 45, whatever answer on the sides, whatever answer 1 is, then that means the other answer is always the same. Okay? So technically here for x and y, all you have to really do is solve for one side, and therefore you have actually solved for both sides. The rule is when doing the opposite, okay? When going from the hypotenuse to the sides, okay, it doesn't matter which side you go to, is you divide by radical of 2, okay? When you go from the side to the hypotenuse, you multiply by radical of 2. The opposite is divide by radical of 2, okay? So if you have radical of 10 and we want to move it to the y, we're going to divide by radical of 2. So we have radical of 10 divide by radical of 2. Since you cannot have a radical on the bottom, okay, you have to make that into a perfect square. So we're going to do radical of 2. So the 2 and the 2 cancel out the radicals. So technically that becomes radical of 4, which, well, first of all, let's do the top. 10 times radical of 2 is radical of 20 over radical of 4, which radical of 4 is 2 over radical of 20. Let's see if we can break down radical of 20. Two numbers that give us 20, we can say 10 and 2. What gives us 10? 5 and 2. Since we're looking for pairs, since there's nothing on the outside of the radical, we're looking for pairs. We have a pair of 2. So we have 2. We have the 5 left over. That's always inside the radical. Think of a party. Whenever you have a party, the leftover goes on the fridge, right? The same here. We have a 5 left over that goes inside the fridge. So technically our final answer is y, well, let's do x and y because they're both the same, equals 2 radical of 5 over 2, because remember, we did the 4 into a 2. And therefore, since x and y are the same, we can say that y is 2 radical of 5 over 2. Okay? So remember, whenever you go from your hypotenuse to one of the sides, on the 45, 45, 90 only, you divide by radical of 2. Okay? If you go from one of the sides to the hypotenuse, you multiply by radical of 2. Okay? Alright, that's one of them. The other triangle we're going to go over with by is, make sure you have everything on your notes. Alright, I hope everybody has everything on their notes. The other triangle we're going to go over today is known as the 30-90 or 30-60-90 triangle. Okay, again, we have a right triangle. Okay, we have our 90. One of them is 30. One of the angles is 60. Okay, so we have our 30-60-90 triangle. Keep in mind, guys, the rule is kind of the same thing, yet a little different. Meaning that across from your 30-degree angle, whatever your 30-degree angle, if it's here or if it's here, across from your 30 is always just the number. Okay, it's always x. Across from your 60-degree angle, the rule is the number times radical of 3. Okay? And across from your hypotenuse, the rule is 2 times your number. Okay? So for example, if x was 5, okay? Let's say x was 5. If we wanted to know what our distance or our measurement for the hypotenuse was, is x times 2. So if x is 5, then that means 2 times 5 is 10. Okay? On the side is times radical of 3. Since radical, the number itself, a full number is just a full number, so it'll be 5 radical of 3. Okay? Meaning, if we have a problem, let me get. Alright, I gotta go get the paper, guys. Sorry about that. Alright, if we have a triangle that has we're gonna say we have 30 over here. Let me fix this up here. Alright, if we have 2 on the leg there, okay? Keep in mind, across from 30, we just have x, just the number. Across from 60, we have the number times radical of 3. We're going to say that's x. We're solving for x, and we're solving for y. We know that x equals 2 radical of 3. The reason we know that is because, again, it's the number times radical of 3. So the number is 2 in this case. We're dealing with 2. So 2 times radical of 3 is just 2 radical of 3 because it cannot combine. Because one's a whole number, one's a radical. Okay? For y, again, we're solving from the 30, which is the number itself. We're going to go to the hypotenuse. Okay? So it's 2 times our number. So if our number is 2, that means that 2 times our number is 4. So y equals 4. Okay? I know it sounds a little confusing. So one more. Alright, notice that this time I have the hypotenuse. Okay? We're solving for x and y again. This time we're looking for the legs. Notice that across from 30 is our number. Since we're going to go from the hypotenuse to the x. Okay? Remember, if we go from x to the hypotenuse, we multiply by 2. If we're doing the opposite, we went from the hypotenuse to the x, we divide by 2. Okay, we do the opposite. So if we're going to go from here to here, we're going to multiply by 2. If we go from here to here, we're going to divide by 2. Since we're going, again, from 16 to x, and x is 30 degrees across. So 30 degrees, so it's just the number. We're dividing by 2. So 16 divided by 2. 2 can go into 16 8 times, so therefore x equals 8. Okay? But wait, now we have to go from 16 to y. Okay? You can also go from x to y if you wanted to. Okay? You can go from here to here. Okay? Or you can go from here to here. Okay? Or you can go from the x. My advice to you is always solve for the x itself, the one for 30 degrees, because it makes it a lot easier when multiplying by radical of 3, since you have a full number to deal with. Since we have a full number, 8, okay, we know that y is 8 radical of 3. Because remember, if you go from here to here, we multiply by radical of 3. Since we have 8 as x, 8 times radical of 3 is 8 radical of 3. Okay? And that's it. Alright guys, so make sure, again, you have it on your notes. If you need any help, send me an email. Alright guys, so here's your assignment for today. Alright guys, your assignment for today is we have a triangle, a right triangle with the right angle. We have a 60 degrees. We have one side 8. We have our hypotenuse as U and our other leg as V. Okay? Remember, you have to solve for both variables. Okay? We have a second one where we have a 90 and a 45. Okay? Our hypotenuse is 7. Our legs are M and N. Remember, you have to choose which theorem to use according to the triangle. Okay? Our third one, we have a 90 degree. We have 30 degrees on top. We have one side as 12. We're solving for y, and then the hypotenuse is x. Okay? Remember, solve for both variables again. And then the last one is we have a 90 and then a 45. We have our hypotenuse as 4, radical of 2. Solve for u and v. Okay? Alright guys, make sure you send me your answers as soon as you're done watching the video. And I'll be here waiting for your email.